Welcome again to a series of sessions on EH 203.1, Anatomy of Food Animals. And today, or this time, we are going to talk on the digestive system of these food animals. And as a reminder, we are focusing on issues that can help us distinguish meat or carcass or species of animals that human can eat as compared to those which, according to our cultures, we are not supposed to eat. So under the digestive system, our main focus will dwell in the alimental tract and the alimental canal, which starts from the lips and ends up at the anus. And specifically, we are going to focus on some of the features inside the mouth, and in this area specifically we are going to focus on the tongue, and then we'll skip these pharynx and esophagus because they don't have much features to discuss, and then we'll go into the stomach. In the stomach we'll also talk on the accessory glands like liver, pancreas, and the spleen, and then we'll talk a little bit of the intestines, features in the intestines that distinguish these species. So let's start with the mouth. We are actually going to focus on the tongue because it's one of the very common tissue that humans tend to consume from these animals. So in addition to that, there are other unique features like presence or absence of the upper dentition. As you can see, ruminant animals, the ox, sheep, deer, and goat, they don't have the upper dentition. Instead, they have a dental pad, which assists in the breakdown of food before it goes into the esophagus towards the stomach. And let's now go directly to the tongue. Point to remember, there are 5 features that we can use to distinguish tongue of different species animals. First, we distinguish them in terms of shape. We distinguish them in terms of size, in terms of color, texture, and presence or absence of the hyoid bone. For instance, in the ox, the tongue is pointed with a round tip. Hyoid bone is the presence. There are other features like this dorsal prominence here. Some species of animals don't have this prominence of the dorsal side of the tongue. Also, all ruminant animals, their tongue have dark pigments. So you can see all these features applies to tongues of other different species like sheep and goat. You can see the difference between this and ox is that here the tip is a little bit notched, as you can see here, but we also have the dorsal prominence, and as I said, also pigmented as well. Also, all these, as I said, ruminant animals have the hyoid bone. For the pig, this is a little bit different because pig is not ruminant. Its tongue shape is a little bit narrow and is well pointed compared to previous species. And also here, that prominence of the dorsal side of the tongue is a little bit not as it is in ox, goat, and sheep. Also, it is not pigmented. And for the horse, the shape is very unique. It is a spatula-like shape, and we don't have the dorsal prominence. It is never pigmented, and specifically we also have these 2 villate papillae on each side of the tongue, which are also distinct to the horse's tongue, and we also don't have the hyoid bone in the horse's tongue. And for the deer, it looks almost like pig, but they say it is slightly notched. You can't see the notch here, but it is slightly notched compared to other tongues. Also here, it is never pigmented. prominence is a little bit, you can see a little bit pronounced as compared to other species, and there is no hyoid bone as well. And you should also remember the presence and arrangement and the size of these papillae. You can see fungiform papillae, pilative papillae, and other papillae that we can see in other species of animals. You should also focus on when trying to look for features to distinguish these animals. And this is a brief summary of what I have been talking about. And then let's go to the stomach. All ruminant animals, I'm sure you know this, have 4 compartments of stomachs: the rumen, the reticulum, omasum, and abomasum. And the abomasum is actually the stomach that we call it the true stomach. The rest are like the extension of the esophagus because they don't produce any gastric juice. And in ox, important features to differentiate ox's stomach here. First of all, the rumen is the largest part of the stomach, and it occupies about 3/4 of the ox's stomach. In calf, if these oxes are young, the abomasum becomes the largest part of the stomach, and it's because during this time this animal is not digesting grass. It depends entirely on mother's milk, and this abomasum is very rich in enzymes that can digest the milk. That's why even rennet, which is a common enzyme fluid that is normally used in manufacturing of cheese, is normally produced from the abomasum. Generally, the calf's stomach is commonly used in production of enzymic substances, and they call it calf stomach. So, as I said, sheep, goat, deer, and ox are all ruminants, so even their stomachs are similar in terms of inclusions, compartments, but they just differ in terms of size because they are also different in size. But for the pig, their stomach is a little bit smaller and its shape is semilunar, and this is also a very distinctive feature, the diverticulum, which is like a pouch at the cardiac end of the stomach. And the hodges, these are like those skins which are covering the hot dogs, are normally made from this stomach. And then we have the horse's stomach, which is comparatively, if you relate it to the size of a horse, it is relatively small. And it's simple, no compartments, U-shaped sac. There's a U-shaped sac at the right part, however, it is shorter on the left part. So a horse is not a ruminant animal. And then we have intestines. Intestines don't differ much. You just have to know that in horses, the large intestines, they possess longitudinal bands, but these longitudinal bands doesn't exist in ox. And you also need to know the length, particularly remember the ratio. Small intestines is normally very long, and its length differs in a ratio of 4:1 as compared to the large intestine. And then we have the accessory glands, which supports the digestive system. We have the liver. It's a very common tissue that humans tend to consume, and you should also know some of the features that distinguish the liver of different species. For the ox, it have 3 lobes, left lobe, right lobe, and there's this small caudate lobe. In young animals, the liver is almost circular in outline, and as the animal ages, the liver elongates and it becomes more oval shaped with a narrowing between the right, this narrow, between the right and left lobe. The gallbladder here, ox have a gallbladder and it is pear-shaped. In most cases, during meat inspection, sometimes you might not find the gallbladder, but you should see a scar as evidence of it being chopped out. In sheep, You can see structurally it differs a lot with what we saw in ox. The caudate lobe is more pointed here. You can see this point here. This is a caudate lobe. There is a very deep fissure here that distinguishes between left and right lobe that we didn't see in ox. As well, the shape of the gallbladder here is cigar shaped as compared to what we saw in the ox, which was oval. And for the pig's liver have 5 lobes: the caudate lobe, the lateral lobe, left lobe, the right lobe, and there's another right to central, left to central, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, another lobe here. They have a distinct texture known as the Morocco leather texture, which is like these leather jackets, and they have a gallbladder which is also pear-shaped. The horse's liver, they have 3 distinct lobes. The caudate lobe is triangular, as you can see here. Something to remember, horses don't have a gallbladder. It's purplish in color, and there's 2 features which distinguish the lobes. And briefly, these are the features that you can use to distinguish livers. Particularly, there are just 3: color, weight, and number of lobes, actually 4. And then we have the pancreas. Pancreas have some very little differences among species, and the differences are in most cases just 2 in terms of color and lobes, because weight, a very small variation in weight, but color and the number of lobes are what distinguishes. But unfortunately, you can see here they are all lobulated, and which leaves you with only color to distinguish between the pancreases. And then we have spleen. There are also several features that we can use to distinguish spleen. For instance, in ox, look at this picture here. It is oval, elongated as compared to what we see in sheep and goat, which is triangular or Easter shaped. It's blue here, but in sheep and goat it is reddish brown in color. It is very soft and elastic in sheep and goat, but here it have some rounded edges, and in some cases these malpighian capsules can be seen along the cross section of the spleen. For the pig, you can see it is somehow like a tongue. That's why we call it elongated tongue shaped, and it have 3 edges. It is triangular in cross section, and it have this longitudinal ridge with the flat omentum attached. And in horses, you can see a sickle shape, but it is also very flat, bluish, as well as bluish in color. So these are some distinct features that we can use in comparing species of animals in the digestive system. Assume that you are inspecting an animal that just have a plaque in front of you. So you have to know these features so that you can tell that this plaque belongs to a particular species of animal. That's all. Thank you.